This is Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it's time for the Atlanta Football Party, only on Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
To the Atlanta Football Party, your home for the best Atlanta Falcons football talk. It's local insight you can't get anywhere but right here at Locked On. I'm your host, Tenitra Batiste. Alongside me are Falcons analyst Jarvis Davis, Locked On Falcons host Aaron Freeman, and of course, joining us shortly, senior Falcons reporter Tori McElhaney. The Atlanta Football Party is also part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So today, we'll download on how the defense did well, yet still missed some opportunities. Outside contained be damned. Now, the Falcons are now back in familiar territory too. Damn. But we'll talk about that, and we'll still talk about something that was encouraging, which was the play of the offense that still gives hope for next week and the future. And we'll talk about love. Love is in the air. But first, listen, it's been 12 hours, yes. So maybe we've had a moment to kind of download and decompress. But for me, I still can't make sense of it because don't you need more time than you need timeouts? Just saying. So, Jarvis, the Falcons had chance after chance to put the game away Sunday night against the Commanders, but they didn't. The biggest missed opportunity, it happened not once, but twice. So 20 seconds ran off the clock. I'm just going to rewind it and run it back just because I'm going to do it for kicks and giggles. But at the end of the first half, that robbed the Falcons maybe of a chance to go up 2 touchdowns on the Commanders. And again, at the end of the fourth quarter, which is probably the most egregious one, with 16 seconds run off the clock, Falcons didn't have a chance to maybe put Riley Patterson in a better position to win the game, or heck, even use Michael Penix's big arm to maybe take a shot at the end zone. So let's break down each decision to not call a timeout. Jarvis, I'm going to start with what Raheem Morris said in post-game quote. Probably could have used the timeout. I thought we could get to the line of scrimmage with our operation there. Could be a little bit faster. Trying to save that timeout. In hindsight, could have been a good decision or better decision to take that timeout to have the opportunity to move up there. So for you, does that make the decision seem any more reasonable or any clearer? Because you kind of may be saying there were some other factors in there on why you made that decision.
I'm more confused, T, if that's even possible. Like, we're talking about a rookie quarterback in his second start. You're gonna leave it up to him to say, hey, Mike, hey man, take it to the promised land, dog. Like, I know you got the juice, right? You know, you're making the right throws. You were able to be calm, cool, and collected in certain situations. But man, how do you leave that in a rookie quarterback's hand and a rookie's offensive coordinator's hands? Like, whether or not he has, input on whether or not to call timeout. So I just think that as a leader of this organization, as the guy who's been a head coach before, as a guy who's been in those big moments, as a Super Bowl winning defensive coordinator, man, it just makes too much sense in the world to take over in that particular moment. We went through this with Dan Quinn and the whole Kyle Shanahan situation, and whether or not he should just run the ball a couple of times and kick the doggone field goal. We're probably talking about a Super Bowl winning head coach. So yeah, like this is why this you know what? This is why this hurts the most. Because you know what I'm saying? Like, we've been through this crap before. We've seen it. We've seen God just say, oh, well, we should have did this. We should have did what? What do you mean shoulda, coulda, woulda? Man, we got stuff on the line, man. Like, the playoff is on the line, Doc. Like, what are you saving timeouts for? Like, what are you saving them for? Like, can you cash them out for a bonus? Like, you getting $1 million a pop for every doggone timeout you save or don't use? What are we talking about here? So, yeah, I'm even more confused, T, because it just doesn't make any sense to me to not be able to make sure, if you have the timeouts available, make sure that you give your quarterback as much time as he needs to be able to operate and win you the doggone football game. No, I'm sorry. Win the damn game. Sorry.
Yeah. And Tori, for me, when I saw those comments, and I will tell you, I think we all know Coach Raheem Morris would never throw his players under the bus, but I definitely didn't like the verbiage because it did sound like he was kind of leaving it up to the players to make the decision to get back to the line of scrimmage and get a play off in time and so on and so forth. Well, no, you're the head football coach. So that's your job. And I mentioned last night in our post game that it does trigger and hit differently because all of us here on this
show, for that, T.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's exactly what I brought up last night. That's exactly what I brought up last night, Tori. I said, this is when you go back, this is a big part of the reason that Dan Quinn was run out of town, right? And Raheem, you were there to see it front and center, and you know what it is. You saw it over and over again, not just in that Super Bowl, but it was consistent across his entire 5 years here. That's what got him run out of town. And then I said as well, but you had a chance to reset under someone who does clock management excellently in Sean McVay. So for me, all of those sequences that say, hey, I've grown, I've matured, and the things that maybe didn't allow me to get that head coaching position back in 2020, I've now grown and evolved. To me, this just felt like a bit of a setback or just felt like a step back. It just makes it very, very uncomfortable. And we'll talk about it being, and then Tori, for me, it was not once but twice. I know everybody's focusing on the fourth quarter, and that's what we're going to talk about with this first question I have out for you guys. But that other one, that crap bothered me too, because I said, this is going to come back to bite them, I'm pretty sure. But first things first, T, walk me through, what your thoughts were 12 hours ago. You've now had some time to kind of review things and think it through. And where are you now?
I mean, I'm with Jarvis. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I didn't get it in the moment. I don't get it now. To your point, it's like you went into halftime with 3 timeouts. And, if you're all about like learning and evolving and even like making game time adjustments, like to kind of go into halftime and to have taken 3 timeouts with you when you didn't have to do that, only to take 2 timeouts into sub 30 seconds left in the game that you could tie it up. Like I have to be critical about that. There's no part of that makes sense to me. And I know what his, he thought, like what he said post game, thinking that the operation was going to be quicker from the time that Darnell Mooney, here's the thing. If that's the case, if you are kind of sitting there hoping that your operation, the offensive operation, is going to get to the line of scrimmage, snap the ball really quickly and, within 7 to 10 seconds, let's give it that. If that's what you're sitting there thinking, when you get to Darnell Mooney comes down on the ball, 33 seconds left. When you get to 28 and you're not anywhere close to being lined up and there's no sense of urgency and you're looking out there on the field at your team, tee it up. Like I don't get it, like how in that moment it didn't, like those two things didn't marry together. Especially considering that the same exact situation where you had a Darnell Mooney first down, he stayed in bounds, and 20 seconds run off the clock at the end of the second half or at the end of the second quarter. Like I don't understand how you're sitting there, to Jarvis's point, with a rookie quarterback in his second start who doesn't have the 13 years experience of like what Kirk Cousins did at the beginning of the season against, I can't remember, the Bucs or the Saints, where he goes down and clocks it with a second left. Like that's not the situation that you're in right now with Michael Penix, and help your guy out. Like, and when you see that your offense is not moving at the rate that you want them to move at, get a hold of bring them together. There's no, and I know you want to save the timeout, but what are you saving it for when you could have run 3 more plays in a time period? You had 16 seconds from the time Darnell Mooney went down with 33 seconds left to the time you snapped the ball on the next play with 17 seconds left. 16 seconds. That is at least 3 plays. At least. So I'm just like, I don't get it. I'm not going to be able to get it. I'm not going to be able to make sense of it. And all I can do is kind of just sit here and be like, that's what happened.
Yeah. I think that's the nail on the head, Aaron. I don't think any of us are able to make it make any more sense. And as I was listening to Jarvis and as I was listening to Tori, I was like, game time adjustments matter. Like real time adjustments matter. And, I thought about like when we look at referees, right? And they have to make a split decision on whether or not that was or wasn't a penalty. But of course, they know that in most instances, they have the possibility to go back to replay and make it right. No, Raheem, you're the make right in this situation. And to Tori's point, I was thinking the same thing, like, okay, 5, 6, 7 seconds. If you don't see everybody lined up and ready to rock and roll, and you don't see anybody looking like they're about to spike the ball, not that that was the right answer, but maybe that could have been a second option. Like that's what you're hired for. That's what you're paid to make the final decision on. And you just didn't. But that said, Aaron, you tend to be the optimistic voice of reason. So I'm going to let you come on in here and say what you want to say. And let's see if you can make sense of it for us?
I really have nothing to add to what Jarvis and Tori, they nailed it. And, I can't remember the specifics of when earlier in the season when Kirk was able to sort of clock it and whatnot, but I want to say it was like 12 seconds that they had left to get that whole thing timed out. And so that was the hurry up of all hurry ups. And so even then it's like, if you thought the operation was going to be faster, like you're still losing like 12 seconds, even in a hypothetical world where they are operating at that speed or something like that. And it's like, why are you like in that situation? You didn't have timeouts, so you had to do that. And in this situation, you had 3 timeouts. So it, as Jarvis and Tori said, and as you as well, T, like it doesn't really make any sense. It just the only thing I could say in order to defend Raheem Morris is, and it's not really a defense of Raheem Morris, it's just like maybe he thought the team only had 1 timeout, and that's it. That's the only real reason that you can come up with a logical reason behind his decision making, where he just thought the team only had 1 timeout, and so he refused to use the 1 timeout that he didn't realize that they still had all 3 timeout. So that's the only. But again, even then, that doesn't make him look better. It just means that he
makes him look worse.
So like that's
and
really
like
no
our coaching staff as a whole, like you have multiple people in your ear.
I was thinking, so nobody caught this. Nobody said anything. Like
that's what I don't get. Like when you have multiple people whose job it is to game clock and game manage, like I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, and then too, you go back.
They've broken me.
Right. And then you go back to what you said about the Kirk Cousins situation where he was able to spike the ball and stop the clock. But you guys remember, that was razor thin. That was by like thousandths of a second that clock almost ran out. So why would you even want to, even if that was your thought about, clocking it, why would you want to do that again? I mean, you saw that with a veteran almost cost you a game. So why the heck would you try that? Even if that was a part of your thought process, like that shouldn't have been it, because I remember like literally heart jumping out of my chest for the fans with that, because I was like, did he clock it? Did he? So why would you even want to be back in that situation? But one more thing before we wrap up, because I feel like as I was reading through comments, whether it was national media, local media, or even fans, everybody was focused on what happened at the end of the fourth quarter. But for me, Tori, it was the first one. It was, I had already tapped out after that happened at the end of the first half, because I was like, a field goal is not the answer against Jaden Daniels. Did you not see what the Commanders did against the Eagles last week in the second half? So for me, that was the more egregious one, because then it put you in a position in that second half where you had to really claw your way back. So I don't know. I just didn't want to go to break without at least acknowledging like that was a sore spot.
Right. Well, that was 3 timeouts. Like, and you get the ball inside the 2-minute warning. And I understand wanting time to come off of the clock because you did not want to give the ball back to the Commanders in that situation. I get that. But you had 3 timeouts. 3.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I can justify it if you have 1. I can maybe justify it if you had 2. I can't justify 3. I can't do it. I'm not going to do it. I can't do it.
And I mean, Jarvis, Aaron, you guys, when you think about that one, and like I said, that's the one that really, really got under my skin. But how did you feel when you saw, as you said, Jarvis, tick, 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 tick?
I need to like
there was an opportunity. Yeah,
Yes. Me too.
Up in here, man.
Me too. I need the woo song. I'm with you, right? I'm right with you, Tori. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what we need to be doing right now. We need to get some ambiance up in here.
Back to center.
Yes.
I need
to feel better. Thank you, Tori.
I do.
Thank you for reminding me. Yes, but yes, but when you Free, don't you do that?
I'm enjoying today's show. That's all.
I'm delirious. This is on me. I'm delirious. I literally got home and in bed at 5:45 in the morning. Like I'm so tired. I am not going to let you take that L, Tori, because honestly, I did not go to bed until 2 a.m. because I kept waking up going, this is some bull. And then I woke up at 6:32. This is still some bullish. So it's not just you, Tori. It's me too.
I went live on X because I couldn't sleep. And I was just like, I've never gone live on X before. You know,
Your
Elon want me to
title
play.
was your
Huh?
title was I got a notification. Was your title of the live? I don't know.
Yes, exactly. Yep, that was me. That's how I was feeling. I'm still like that, T. Like, you know what I'm saying?
So
I'm
funny.
still feeling like this is football games should not do this to me. Like I'm
No.
sitting up here, like
Yeah.
literally watching highlights from the Hawks game because I missed it. You know what I'm saying? Missed the game, whatever. I was like,
Try to get in your
why is
happy
this doing
space.
this to me? I was like, I need to find something. I need to find some happiness. Like I was just like, man, I was just running off at the mouth. I was just like, man, I hope y'all understand what I'm talking about, feeling right now because this is absolutely. Oh my gosh. Oh,
It
this
was.
team.
I mean, it was,
they'll
and
do
it,
it to
it
you.
still is. It was,
Yeah.
and it still is. Now, we did have a good situation, like we talked about the fact that Jimmy Lake made the adjustments, and not just in game, but he made adjustments before the game to prepare for Jaden Daniels and company. But the defense did make some critical adjustments on the field that maybe they needed to. We'll discuss that when we take it under further review. This episode of our Atlanta Football Party is brought to you by Rocket Money. So did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions that maybe you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions like I always do that I didn't even realize I was still paying for. And Rocket Money, it makes it so much easier to track them all down. Me putting the reminders in my phone just have not been it. So for me, this is actually a better personal assistant for my finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor spending, and lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. So cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. So when we look at the offensive play, they had chances to win the game that were mostly out of their control that we just talked about, right? But the defense had some chances that were in their control. And Grady Jarrett said post-game, quote, "We put ourselves in this situation. We were this close to controlling our destiny and we let it slip." And that's the reality of it. We've got to let it hurt. We got to let it burn. To which I said, okay, Jarvis is from Atlanta, so maybe he can like translate the last part of that because I really wasn't sure what he meant. But so Jarvis, I'm going to start with you only because I need you to translate. We got to let it hurt. We got to let it burn, particularly let it burn. And then tell me, do you feel like Grady got it right with his assessment of what went down last night, especially on the defensive side of the ball?
First of all, it's a from a famous, proverb, by philosopher Usher Raymond.
I know that, but I still couldn't make it
You know
make
what I'm saying?
sense. I couldn't correlate it.
So when you talk about letting it burn, like it's like one of those. It's almost like a parent. Like when you try to tell I tell my young daughters, I say, hey, Dad, know what you're talking about when it comes to this particular situation. So you might want to listen to your boy. And they just say, oh, Daddy, I got that. Okay, cool. I'm gonna fall back. I'm gonna let you doggone do what you do. And then whatever the end result is, which I know what's going to happen, what that result is going to be, you just gotta let it be. You don't come to crying to Daddy, because Daddy told you before you went over there to touch that hot stove. So Grady has been in these situations before. He's been in it like he's been in it so much, like this average to below mediocre football play and missing out on opportunities. And then the biggest one of all, right? The 28-3. Like he understands Kyle Shanahan. All you had to do was run the ball 3 times, bro, kick the field goal, whatever, and you going about your way. And you got a Super Bowl right now. And you're not even really tripping like that. But that response by Grady was spot on. It just speaks to what he's had to deal with since he's been in Atlanta Falcon. And God bless him, because I don't know if I would have re-up. You know what I'm saying? Just to be quite honest. Like I would have went to an organization probably to figure out a way to try to get a Super Bowl. But for him to stick around, it just shows you the type of guy he is. But that assessment, I don't know if you all heard that in his voice. It was something that he probably wanted to say something else, So I think he just said "let it burn" to kind of like, yeah, Mother Blankers. We had our opportunity. We knew what we were up against coming into this game, and we just didn't get it done.
Yeah. And I get, and now Tori, as Jarvis is kind of extrapolating and breaking down what Grady said, I think it makes much more sense when you kind of think of it that way. Like, hey, we knew what we were up against. I told you what this can look like, probably on either side when you execute, especially in the basics, block and tackle, block and tackle, block and tackle. And yeah, you can't just because of that lay it all at the feet of the timeouts. You have to talk about the tackling as well. As brilliant as some of the play was with AJ Terrell, for example. We'll get into that in a second. But tackling is so critical. Like you got to get the guy down.
Imagine that concept.
Right. And so you could kind of hear that in his voice as well. Like, just get back to basics. And I mean, he even had a moment, I'm sure, where unfortunately for him, it was just more angling and, hey, Jaden Daniels was just in the right place to get around you, great Jared. But he was just talking about, in its totality, that you have an opportunity there. You just got to seize the moment. You just have to.
Yeah. And I mean, Grady's been in more moments like this than he probably cares to have been in. And I mean, he knows what to say and he knows how to handle himself. And even in that, you hate that someone like Grady has had to essentially be in that situation to begin with. And I don't know. It's tough. And you don't know exactly kind of how they're going to respond. You hope that they respond the way that, I don't know. I go back to something that keeps coming up is the 2015 season and how this 2024 season feels like a little bit like the 2015 season, where they started off and had some like key moments where they were playing really well, and then they kind of fell off at the end of that season. And that I've just seen a lot of that juxtaposition. That was Grady Jarrett's first year. And I would love to like sit down and talk to him about it. Like, does this feel similar to that year? Because to me, there's a comparison there to what they did in 2020 or it did in 2015 versus what they did in 2014. I'm not saying that 2025 is going to look like 2016 did. That's not what I'm sitting here saying at all. But it is one of those things where it's like you saw the trajectory, you saw the potential, you saw what this team could be, and then it falls off at the end. And I don't know. I'm curious. I would love to know his thought process because he's been there. He's been here for a decade. Like none of this is new stuff to him.
Nothing.
Like, and he's really, but outside of him and Jake Matthews, like they're really the only one. Yeah, the OGs, like they're really the only ones who can kind of like say anything in this moment to me, because they're the only ones who have consistently experienced it over and over and over again. And it's unfortunate.
It is. And, Aaron, when Tori mentions that, I know that's been a lot of the commentary because I was trying my best to find like the happy space of like, well, maybe this is one of those tough lessons where you have to go through it because you were thinking that you were going to run the South and that it was going to be a runaway situation. And it looks like not so much, but maybe this is what you have to have happen. You got to go through it so you can understand what's going to be at hand for you in 2025. Not that it makes it feel better right now, but I was just kind of thinking about it from, Tori's perspective of what she was saying. But yeah, I think too, it can't be easy. We think about the fans and what they've had to go through. But yeah, you think about players like Grady and Jake Matthews, and you're like, yeah, you've been sitting here going through this over and over and over again as well. And it's kind of like frustrating for that same broken record because, yeah, I looked at the Commanders and I'm like, I heard this comment, Aaron, and then I'll be quiet and let you chime in. But I heard it because I know I'm going off today, which I usually do not. I usually sit back, but this is a little ish, so I'm going to have to talk.
Let it burn, too. Let it burn.
Right? Yeah, I'm like, you broke my sleep, man. I'm mad. You kept me awake. Had to go listen to
a song by the end of the show.
But like, I think the one thing that hurt as well last night was the Commanders and the Falcons are like that Spider-Man meme. They're the same team, with the exception of the Falcons actually have a quality owner, right? And they have a quality organization. The Commanders have not. But trajectory-wise, it's been up and down, back and forth, laughing stock, so on and so forth for the better part of a decade for both of these teams. And it's like, wow. They're both on the cusp, right? And it just kind of hurt to see that the Commanders, got the better end of it last night. And that this is the team that had a number 2 pick and was not supposed to do crap this year. And yet their trajectory is sending them to the playoffs either before the Falcons or they at least know they're going before the Falcons. So I don't know. That kind of hurt me as well. Like, dang, I didn't expect this team who's been going through the same situation pretty much for the better part of a decade to be the one that was waltzing in before the Falcons.
Yeah, the way you put that does make it a little bit more of a bitter pill to swallow, I guess. When you look at sort of the quick turnaround that they've
is
had.
all about, Free. You know what I'm saying? That's what
Let it out.
Therapy Mondays. Let it go.
But Tori said something interesting, which is said that Grady's been through a lot, and I feel like I've been through a lot as a Falcons fan.
Man. You on the
It's
couch
one of those
today,
things where it's like it sucks, but like at the same time, like because I've been through so much, I'm just like, all right, it's same old Falcons. They're better luck next week, better luck next year. Hopefully it'll turn out better.
We're gonna draft in the first round.
Yeah, it's just like, all right, like this is a familiar place to be, where it's just like, all right, we're at the end of the season and we're on the outside looking in, and maybe there's a miracle that happens in the next 7 days and the Falcons back their way into the playoffs, but it's more of the same. So I think that's part of why it's like I'm not as mad at it, because I'm just like, okay, this is the life I've been living for the last 7+ years, so I'm used to it by now. But I do need to maybe bring some of this stuff up with my therapist, and we need to talk through this stuff.
And when you talk to your counselor, when you talk to your coach, ask your coach, what does winning DNA look like? And then maybe we can have that conversation, because that was another thing that I thought about as well. Like, dang it, the Commanders are looking like a team that's already kind of sort of gotten some darn winning DNA. And I'm like, I really hope that next week, I think the Falcons are going to be fine in showing that they have that winning DNA, but I really would have preferred to see the winning DNA show itself this week. And so when we think about all the things, the chromosomes that go into the DNA of even making up a human being, and if that one chromosome is off, what could happen? Maybe we're just a chromosome or something away with that winning DNA for this team. However, despite the loss, there were some good things that we saw on the offensive side of the ball. We'll discuss it when we run it back. Locked On Sports Atlanta is a free 24/7 sports streaming channel and is programmed to bring you all Atlanta sports on one channel. Locked On Sports Atlanta also brings you the best coverage for the Falcons, Hawks, Braves, and Bulldogs, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Aaron, we're going to go with the positive, because I know that's going to make you better in your healing process. And you got to look at the first half and the offense. I mean, they really had it humming. And I think one of the most impressive things, if not the most impressive, was Michael Penix, and the fact that he got picked off on the opening drive, reset quickly for the second drive of the first half, and then the Falcons scored a couple touchdowns and kicked a field goal. So when you look at what Penix was able to do, some of the good, we know he missed on some of the throws, but ultimately some of the good of his performance, what do you want to see him build on from this week that he can take into next week?
Well, like I said on the postcast last night, I thought the best of Michael Penix in this game came really in the fourth quarter, when the team's back was against the wall and they had the sort of gotta have it plays on those fourth downs, and he was able to convert in those situations. Prior to that, though, like if I'm being completely honest, and went back and watched a little bit of the film this morning, for 3.5 quarters, I don't know if Michael Penix played particularly well. But it's understandable. He's a rookie quarterback. He's coming off of a very good opening debut performance at home against a questionable Giants team, let's say that. And then this was his first real road test against a playoff caliber opponent. And, there was a lot more up and down. And I bring that up not as a knock against Michael Penix, but to me, it's very reminiscent of Matt Ryan's early career, where he came out of the gates really hot against the Detroit Lions at home. That Lions team went on to go 0-16. That was one of the worst teams in NFL history. And then the following week on the road against Tampa Bay, who were the defending division champs, he started that game 0-9. And the Falcons, really struggled in that game. And so I bring that up just because, it's still very early in Michael Penix's career, and we saw with Matt Ryan, he went on to be very successful. And so I think when you sort of look at the sort of late game situations, that is, I think, a very positive sign for Michael Penix in the future. But I think when it comes to sort of the consistency, going back to the operation of it all with Raheem Morris, it was like where like the offense seemed a little bit out of sync early in the game. Like there was some spacing issues, I think, early in the game where there were multiple receivers kind of in the same spot, and that led to some issues. There were some missed throws. There were some questionable decisions for Michael Penix. And so, again, not to rehash the whole calling timeout, but it was like, your operation really wasn't great all night. So why are you expecting it all to come together at the end of the half and at the end of the game? But that's, we'll leave that aside. So I think there are things to build off of here, but I think with Michael Penix, it'll be interesting to see how he responds next week against Carolina at home. And maybe he'll have a kind of a similar narrative with Matt Ryan had earlier in his career, where for like the first 4 or 5 years, where it was like he was really great at home and he was just kind of okay on the road. And I think, again, we have a 2-game sample size, and that's kind of been the situation with Michael Penix this point. And so hopefully at some point next year, he'll get that opportunity maybe to, show that he has the road chops that he didn't necessarily get to show in the first, 3 or so quarters last night.
Mm-hmm.
So something about Michael Penix that I've kind of been thinking about the last couple of weeks is that he reminds me of my family's dog a little bit. And I say this because his name is Bogey. He's a golden retriever, and I love him so much. But he doesn't know how big he is. Like he's almost 80 pounds, and he still thinks that he is like a puppy that is maybe like 30 pounds or 25 pounds, and he doesn't know his own strength. So a lot of times he like lays on you and you're like, you're kind of squishing me. That's what I think this game was for Michael Penix. There were so many times where he overshot his receivers, and it's one of those things. We know about his arm strength, we know about his arm talent. Yeah. But it was like when he was under pressure, it was like, I'm using all of my strength, all of my power just to get the ball downfield and hoping for the best. And I think that it's one of those things that the more he grows into the game, the more that he grows into himself, the more that he grows into who he is as a professional and who he is within this offense. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to grow into a big dog. Like, he's a big dog. And I think that he has that potential and he has that kind of ceiling. But right now he's a big dog that thinks he's like, he doesn't know his own strength a little bit. Like, he's still a puppy, but he's still trying to figure things out. Like, that's how I felt like that game was. And I think that overall we saw like promise and potential that fourth quarter, like what he did in that fourth quarter, having that clutch gene that we talk all the time about, what Jaden Daniels has showcased every time he's been out on the field this season. I do think that Michael Penix has that in him. It's more about like the smaller moments, the second downs, the third downs in the first, second, third quarter of getting into a rhythm and hitting his receivers in stride, and especially when he's under pressure and the pocket is collapsing around him. I don't think he's far off. Like, I think he's making the right decisions on a lot of these throws where he kind of overshot him. It was the right decision to go to those specific guys in those moments. They had beaten their man and he just overthrew them. I think that changes the more he understands kind of his role and his connection with the receivers and his understanding of the offense. So I'm not, even though I don't think like it was the best performance ever, it's not a performance that made me be like, oh, I'm out. Like, if anything, it made me be like, no, he's growing. Like, he's a puppy and he's growing, and we're gonna, like, it's gonna be okay. Like how I am with Bogey. Like, so that's just like the analogy in my head.
No, I love that analogy because it made me think of a couple things. As long as you see elite processing, then it's a good thing. It's like that kid also that you say, hey, that kid got a B, but I know you can get an A+. So this is what we're going to do to get you there. And then too, I remember at the beginning of my career, broadcasting, that is, I remember people who've been in the business, veterans, would always say, you just got to get through your first 100 reps of anything. Once you get through 100 reps of that thing, all of a sudden it's going to become like clockwork for you. And I feel like, well, Jaden Daniels was clearly through his first 100 reps. Michael Penix just has to get there.
And to be honest with you, I think that's a great analogy, by the way, Tori. I think because there were moments like on the sluggo to Bijan Robinson, the post to Drake London, and then understanding and realizing like, hey, you can throw a 50-50 ball, but when it goes to a guy like 5, it's a 75-25 or 80-20. You know what I'm saying? Because he's going to go get it, because he was able to work his matchup like consistent. I know we're going to talk about that a little bit later on, but just for MPX, I think it's just a matter of him continue. It's all about repetition. I know people don't want to hear that because, hey, he's supposed to be the savior, and Kirk Cousins was playing awful, and he needs to become and be the exact opposite of what Kirk Cousins was, and all that stuff. I get that, but understanding that he has that winning DNA that like T you mentioned earlier, he has that in him because of what we saw in the fourth quarter. Because the first 3.5, like Aaron mentioned, I was like, man, what's going on? Like what's wrong? He threw the ball into the dirt to Darnell Mooney over the middle. I was like, what is that? What? Then he threw the interception on the first drive. I was like, man, I don't know what's going on with him, but he's gonna have to figure this thing out. And then he came back that following drive, run the ball, made the right throws and was being confident and getting the ball to his wide receivers and allowing them to make plays. I just think that overall, this is going to be it's going to take some time, and I'm okay with that because he is a rookie and he's not the all-world league MVP, coming off the bench, in his second start, and they're going to carry the team to the playoffs. Yeah. So I think that, and to add to that, he wasn't the reason they lost the game last time.
Right.
With all those issues we talked about with the missed throws and all that stuff, he was not the reason they lost that football game. I said it last night on the postcast when I was in my fields. I still am, but I'm recovering. I appreciate you all, letting me talk through my issues. But that game was on Raheem Morris, 100%. 100%. He did not do what he needed to do in order for them to outrun the South. He just didn't. He lost the division for them. That's what he did. And the rookie is sitting out there like, hey man, all I needed was a couple more seconds, and the kicker probably would have made the doggone field goal from 51 or 50. Like come on now.
No, that's a great call because, and when you think about the running piece there, Bijan Robinson in that first half, I mean, he gave you everything that he could, and he was just kind of running roughshod. And then all of a sudden, I mean, granted, part of it was because the offense for the Commanders stayed on the field for so long, you didn't really have a choice. Every time you got the 3 and out, you couldn't really just kind of run it like you did in the first half. But again, I just thought about him because he's another example of, well, he didn't lose the game for you. He couldn't snap the ball to himself on the direct snap that went wrong. I mean, maybe he could have done, something else. I've heard somebody say maybe could have tossed it out, out of bounds or something like that. But again, real time, you're like thinking to yourself, I just got to make sure I secure the ball first of all. But yeah, there were just so many instances where those mistakes can still be undone with good decision making on the sidelines. That's the most important thing because you're, like we always say, you're the big kid in the room, or like, when you're at your family's, I don't know, reunion, or you're at Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner, it's like, you're the big kid. You're the example. All the little cousins are supposed to follow you. So on the sidelines, that's what we need you to be. You're the big cousin.
Take everybody for a long walk, while all the game's going on.
Exactly. Like that can't happen. That can't happen. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of mention that as well. But there were a couple of other good things on the offensive side of the ball that we saw. One that I'm sure wasn't on anybody's bingo card, but we'll talk about it in the look ahead. This episode of our Atlanta Football Party is brought to you by Rocket Money. So did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me, where I'll have some subscriptions that I forget about, and all of a sudden I check my bank account and it's like, boom, where'd that come from? Well, that's me paying for a subscription that I forgot about. But Rocket Money makes it easy to track all of them down because it's like having a better personal assistant for your finances than what I currently have on my phone calendar that's not quite working for me. So Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 500 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. So cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/locked-on today to get ready for 2025 the right way. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. So, Tori, there were some more good things that happened on offense. And one of them was Drake London. I mean, he has posted 5 games of at least 70 receiving yards this season and already racked up 7 touchdowns, 119 targets before the Commanders game even started. And of course, now has a 1,000-yard receiving season. So what do you like best about London's game? Not just last night, but what you've seen so far and what it can bring to this Falcons offense and maybe even help a rookie quarterback to come along even faster.
Yeah, he's such an asset because like what Jarvis was saying earlier, he turns 50-50 balls into 70-30 or 80-20, whatever you want to say. And I think that he also, something that I really like about Drake is his competitive edge and his competitive nature. And the fact that in the locker room after that game, he was asked about, first time in your career, you have 1,000 receiving yards, like, what do you think about that? And he legit said that's irrelevant. Beep. And I don't know if I can cuss on this podcast, but I'll save Jarvis the post editing. But I kind of like he's kind of like exactly what a young quarterback would need, and he has had success regardless of who has been quarterbacking this team. And that does not go overlooked or unnoticed by me in what he means to this organization. And he's everything that you would want a number 8 overall draft pick to be. Same thing with Bijan Robinson. They have kind of held up their end of the bargain of where they were taken in the draft. And he's an asset. And so is Bijan Robinson. And so is AJ Terrell. I know no one's freaking talking about AJ Terrell, but they should. They really should, because he's having an all-pro year, and I say that wholeheartedly. And I don't know if he'll get an all-pro nod or a Pro Bowl nod, but it's a shame that the national conversation around AJ Terrell just isn't there. And I will stand on that soapbox for as long as I need to, because he's had a great year. Drake London's had a great year. Bijan Robinson's had a great year. There are a lot of individual pieces on this team that have had really productive years and career years. And it's a shame that the fact that the Falcons haven't been able to put wins together is going to overshadow these individual performances of all these guys I just mentioned.
Yeah. And Tori, you're right. You look at somebody like Terry McLaurin, another 1,000-yard receiver himself. And if you're able to, and what AJ Terrell was able to do, which is hold them to 1 catch for 5 yards on 7 targets, and you're sticking with him and you're on him the entire game, like, hey, Jimmy Lake tells you that's your assignment. That's your assignment the entire 60, and you do it. I think that's a great point that you make. Let's not just leave it to, oh, yeah, AJ Terrell missed that critical tackle. We know he did, but let's not take away what he was able to do the rest of the game, that he's been showing up almost every game this season in that same way. So, no, I think that's a great point. And sometimes when you're on a team, Aaron, like the Falcons, where it's up, down, where you look great for a stretch and then you look god awful for a stretch, and then you're kind of coming back to what you looked like before. Yeah, players like Drake London and the incredible things he's been able to do, AJ Terrell and what he's been able to do, sometimes they get lost in the shuffle. I think Bijan probably gets a little bit more credit nationally for what he's able to do. But yeah, Drake London, you can't minimize the importance of who he is, because like Tori said, he's done it no matter who has been under center. And we know what that looked like before the arrival of Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix Jr. And we know what it looked like prior to the arrival of those who shall remain nameless.
Yeah. I wonder who you're talking about. Yeah, I think Tori said it right. Like, Drake has been consistent and reliable regardless of the quarterback who's been under center. And that is a testament to his ability. And like, I think, him along with Bijan were, quietly, maybe not quietly, but like were really outstanding on Sunday night. It was basically like, and they talked about it on the broadcast where they were really going after Marshawn Lattimore's replacement, Michael Davis, last night. And pretty much any time, Michael Penix saw Drake London lined up against Michael Davis, he was like, I'm throwing to Drake London. And almost every single time, Drake London got open, got tons of separation, won those matchups. And those are the sort of the things that you look for in a number one wide receiver. And that's why, Drake London has sort of blossomed now that you've gotten steadier quarterback play this year and put up, much better numbers than he had done in previous years. And it's not because, as Tori said, it's not because you didn't see number one caliber receiver play from him. You just didn't get it as consistently because you got less consistent play from under center in those previous seasons. So I think Drake London really deserves a lot of credit and a lot of praise, because I do feel like when, we were going through those ups and downs with Michael Penix in the first three quarters, most of the ups were when he was throwing the ball to Drake London. And so I think that's a testament to Drake London.
Yeah. Can I just say this? I'm not about to give you this like amazing football breakdown, and some people might not agree that I'm even capable of doing those things, but everybody has their own opinion. Drake is a dog. Like, can I just say that Drake is an absolute dog? What I mean when I say that is he's the type of guy that if a fight breaks out at the bar and all your teammates are there, he's gonna be the first dude to swing. Like the first dude.
We saw that.
Yes, absolutely. He's gonna be the first dude to swing, and you might not like him. He might seem a little terse sometimes. He's a California cat, so those dudes just built different. That's just what it is. I played with cats like Drake. You know what I'm saying? I understand it, but oh my gosh, I'm taking him with me. He's gonna be one of the first guys to go with me if we go into a bar fight. If I know I got beef with somebody, I'm going to go get Drake. And those are the type of guys that you need in your corner. And the another example of it last night in the game against the Commanders, he went and got the football. He went and got the football.
Yeah.
Because that was Michael Penix, that was his boys' first passing touchdown. He went and got that mug. Kyle Pitts threw that mug up in the air somewhere. I don't know. But man, he got it to him and just put it onto a platter. I'm like, here you go, man. Here you go. Appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Like little stuff like that lets you know the makeup of guys. Like, Falcons always talking about the ethos and all that stuff. Like guys like Drake London make me like that word because, I feel like it's a little overused. But when, you get a guy like Drake into the fold and he matches that ethos, whatever that formula looks like, I'm on board with that. Give me more Drake Londons. Like the more they get type guys, they get Drake Londons that are Drake London type guys. Like I would love to see that. And I think that, when you have a guy like that in your corner, like you can do some things, especially if you got multiple.
Yeah. And when he hurdled, he was going down the sideline, I said, yep, that's what I like to see. You go for yours. Now, we don't want you to get into it. We don't want you to hurt. But I appreciate the effort and the desire to just get that one more yard or kind of see, hey, if I hurdle this guy, maybe I stay in bounds and maybe I just go down the sidelines for a touchdown. I think also it's that mental dexterity that he has as well. I like that. And what we're seeing with the Hawks right now, Tori, that's the conversation we've been having with them for years. They now have themselves a dog that they hadn't had in the last 3 or 4 seasons, which is probably why they've looked like they've looked the last 3 or 4 seasons. But when you have that one guy whom is about that life, most of the time everybody else falls in line. And I think he might finally be that guy on the offensive side of the ball that maybe gets everybody to kind of follow suit. So, I mean, I think, when I look at him, and even I think Bijan Robinson, it's a quiet one for him, right, Tori? I think his may not be in your face, his may not be very vocal, but he's got some dog and some assassin in him as well. So maybe in addition to saying Drake London is that one who's that dog that you kind of follow on the offensive side of the ball, maybe you have like a Bijan Robinson who has that quiet, but that same kind of edginess to him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to a bar fight with Bijan Robinson because
he might want to just play you out of it as opposed to punch your way out of it, and that's okay too.
And that's who he is, and I love that about him. He is just that's not who he is. He is
Right.
going to be. He's gonna everything that Bijan Robinson does. You're just like, yeah, man, that's just Bijan. Like that's just Bijan being
so true.
Bijan. I've said it on this podcast before. He's a very special talent. We're seeing exactly why you go out and you get someone like Bijan Robinson. He is a game changer. He's an offense changer. He's a production changer. And it's just, again, I don't know what else to like say other than it's unfortunate that the year that he's having is going to be overshadowed by the fact that the Falcons aren't going to be a playoff caliber team. Probably not going to be a playoff caliber team.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
They won't be a playoff team.
That is fair.
Yeah.
Well, the Falcons didn't get a win last night, but the guy under center got one more win a couple days ago, and the guy on the other side of the ball, his team got a win, and so did he. We'll talk about it on the other side. Ooh, before we get to the guys that got wins off the field as well, he's much maligned, and for good reason. But he did do something good last night, so I do want to shout out Kyle Pitts, because there was a laser thrown in there by Michael Penix, but Jarvis, he caught it. He caught it.
Yeah, he did. Like, yeah, that's yes.
Yeah. And he had
Kyle
5 targets, and he caught 4 balls last night.
That is a excellent. What is that? 80% catch rate. Like, you know, off the top of my head, with the math, yeah, that's how we feeling right now. That's how I'm feeling better. My math is amazing right now. But yeah, I think Kyle does deserve some credit, because when he was where Michael Penix wanted him to be, even in just when he threw it to him, I can't remember if it was 3rd or 4th down, where he threw the ball onto the right sideline, and he kind of threw it to where he would kind of run up underneath it, and I was just like, oh man, if you had to put it on him, he would have been cooking with grease, because Kyle won it. He won it. He won that 1-on-1, like he won it, like 6'6", 240, can run like a deer. Yeah, you saw that, and he was able to get separation. It was just that Michael Penix had overshot him. So I think we saw a little bit of a motivated Kyle Pitts last night, and to be honest with you, T, that touchdown, he had no choice but to catch that one. Like, Michael Penix tried to throw that mug through his doggone intestines. Like, if he didn't catch that ball, it would have went straight throughout his back. Like, I'm sorry, because that dude fired that bad boy. And can I just say this? I think I enjoy watching Michael Penix play football. It is just such a joy. He doesn't get rattled. He's just calm, cool, collected. And it was just like, after that pick, all right, cool. Let's go. Cardell Hodge dropped that ball. All right, cool. No worry. We about to get in there anyway. Like overshot Bijan for a touchdown, potentially. Oh, I'll get it back. Oh, the defense can't stop a nosebleed. Oh, don't worry. I got you. We'll get you in field goal position. You know what I'm saying? Coach no call timeout. I can't overcome that. But it's just, I had to get that. Like, I have to be petty in order to be able to move on free. So don't look at me like that, sir. So yeah. So I think Kyle Pitts had a solid game last night, and I think it's because of the guy that Michael Penix is. I feel like being able to say, hey, I trust you. Be where you're supposed to be, and I'm gonna get you the rock.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts, he had a moment. He hasn't had too many moments basically since October. So I'm glad he got a moment, in a key game. And so you can't say Kyle Pitts was the reason why the Falcons lost the game, as Jarvis so eloquently put it. Kyle Pitts, Michael Penix were not the reasons why the Falcons lost the football game. So, I don't know how much longer Kyle Pitts is going to be an Atlanta Falcon, if he's going to be back next year, if next year is going to be his last year, if he's going to play well enough next year, if he's back in Atlanta to earn a long-term contract. All of those things are up in the air, but at the very least, he had this moment. And so, whatever the future holds for Kyle Pitts, we'll see. But in the present, I think, he deserves credit for, playing well in a sort of gotta have it moment. And he had it in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't have anything to add. I just Yep. Like those are the plays that a number 4 overall draft pick should make.
Yeah.
And that's like, and that's someone that you need to be able to rely on because you've invested so much. And that's it. That's the thing. Is like, that's what should have happened. I feel like I don't need to say anything more to that.
Yeah, no, that is fair. That is fair. So yes, we've had our KP moment. We've acknowledged it. Check the box, and we can move on to go back to Michael Penix, because Jarvis, you were talking about him, and he does great. He did a thing off the field as well for Christmas Eve. Obviously, he got engaged, so congratulations to him. But also, we had a post game. So the Commanders are celebrating. Unfortunately, they won. They're on to the playoffs. But Jeremy Reeves, one of their corners, he actually proposed to his girlfriend after the game. And it's always funny to me when something like that happens, or whether it's on a billboard or something like that. So maybe I should start with Tori, but I'll start with Jarvis because he's the guy. And I'll then go to Free, and I'll let Tori wrap us up on this because I have my own thoughts about it. But how do you guys feel about that? Like, when I juxtapose what Michael Penix did in his proposal versus what Jeremy Reeves did in how he proposed, I don't know. Kind of like the way Penix went about it. But congratulations, Jeremy Reeves, and your fiance. It's great too.
I mean, you in the league, bro. Like, why are you proposing at a football game? What was the young man that the Boise State running back that proposed to his girl? Oh, I can't think of his name. But anyway, he proposed to his girl after the game, and that was a big deal. I get it. Y'all broke. Ain't nobody got no money. There wasn't no NIL back then. So, y'all let me propose at the game. Oh, yeah, that's impressive right there. All good. But, bro, we got NFL checks coming in. What we doing, sir? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can wait till after the playoffs, bro. You can go to Bali. You know what I'm saying? We just you can fly everybody out. You know what I'm saying? And have a whole big to do. But after the game, bro, y'all just clinched the playoff. That's about you. They ain't got nothing to do with her. Come on, man. Like, make her feel special, dog. Like, you know what I'm saying? Goodness.
Said from the happily married man. So we'll go ahead and give that a proper cosign. What about you, Free? What do you think about the Penix proposal versus the Reeves proposal?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm a little biased, but I feel like the Penix proposal was a little bit better. As Jarvis said, I get it. Like, it's a football game. I'm sure Jeremy Reeves' now fiance has been very supportive of him through his football career and all that stuff. And so, in his brain, it's football, my girlfriend, my fiance, it's all interconnected and whatnot. But take her out. Make it special for her. Right, as Jarvis said, it's he's all sweaty and stuff after the game, smelling all bad and stuff.
Ass post shower, bro, you right.
She said yes, so clearly she wasn't too bothered by it. So I can't be overly judgmental about it. But again, I got a few notes. That's all I would say. Just a few notes. Talk about it.
I'm gearing up. I'm gearing up for my answer because I'm telling you right now, to each their own. To each their own. I'm sure it was a very special moment for them. Happy for them. I wish them a lifetime of happiness. I'm telling you right now, if I get proposed to at a sporting event, I'm not just saying no. I'm taking the ring and I'm throwing it on the other side of wherever I am, the stands, field, whatever. Yes. I am launching that thing into the sun. And I am not down for that. There is no part of me that is like, this is so sweet. No. I'm very much this is not your moment. This is her moment. And you proposing to her,
come on,
moment. It's y'all's moment now. But I'm telling you right now, do not. If there's a man out there that one day wants to propose to me, don't do that. I cannot stress that enough.
Period.
I will say no. I don't care if I love you. I will say no because you obviously don't love me enough to propose to me in a very special manner, like in a non-football atmosphere. Like, you don't love me. You don't love me. You don't love me. And I'm throwing your ring away. It's gone. And you're gone from my life. You're gone from my life. You're gone. I'm out. I'm done. I will find someone else. I'm sorry to this man. I will find someone else. I will.
Well, from the girl whose mom asked her for Christmas, hey, Tenitra, did you ever think about getting married? I don't know. Maybe when you chunk the darn ring, I might need to pick it up because, those 4 times I got it proposed to and I didn't take the damn ring. Maybe I need to take it this damn time. I don't know. Thanks to our everydayers.
Start the show with damn. End the show with damn.
Stop by Locked On Falcons with Aaron at your second listen. Tori's awesome work at AtlantaFalcons.com. Check that out and check her out on Rise Up tonight. We'll see you next time.
Oh, boy.